It's a long way to the top. But if you take it step by step, you'll make it. Let's climb that VO ladder with our hosts, Troy Holden and Will Vincent.
Hey, welcome back to the Voice Over Ladder. Troy Holden here in the Tinseltown, Tennessee.
Tinseltown?
Tinseltown, Nashville, the musical city.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever heard Tennessee referred to as Tinseltown.
It's probably not. I just made it up.
It is now, damn it.
Yeah, I have named it Tinseltown. Actually, you know, if somebody says, where are you really? If you go to, if you look on a map, I'm up above Nashville in a little bitty town called Westmoreland, and it's between Portland and Lafayette. And if you can find any of the three on the map, congratulations. You'll find it on Google. It'll dig it up for you. But
is it?
Yeah,
Lafayette?
It's middle of nowhere. It is pronounced Lafayette here.
I would have definitely called it Lafayette.
Yes, Indiana it is. It's Lafayette, Indiana, but here it's Lafayette.
Lafayette.
No
well,
idea.
See, you're up above Nashville. You're looking down on them.
Yeah, that's right.
They're beneath
That's
me.
right.
You're all beneath me. I'm way above.
Yeah. We look down on Nashville. That's what we do. Hey, this is going to be a great episode for those of you who are interested in two things. If you don't have a ton of experience with conferencing or doing on live meetings and being able to pull up the video and hear the audio, that's one thing. And then we're going to touch a little bit too about directed sessions and the two different types of directed sessions you might run into as you begin to grow your voiceover career and climb the ladder, because we know every month we get to see several of you move up a rung. You were a level 0, and then you became a level 1, and now you become a level 2. We're watching you guys climb.
You'll eventually get a lot of business off these platforms because...
Yes, then you can get away from that crap. Yes, you get away from that stuff because, yeah, undoubtedly, I love direct business. I love it.
And even better, a directed direct session.
Yes. So let's talk about it.
Directed session. There we go.
Now, Will, I think you had a request related to this.
I did, yeah. So I got a message from Tony. He said, hey, man, this would be a great topic. I'd love to learn more about video conferencing through Fiverr and off-site, which is best. Audio, video, lag, what's the best app, loopback. I know nothing of this stuff. I've just used Zoom with my company account. Okay, so this is a great question. We're talking about video conferencing, like Troy said, video conferencing and directed sessions. And so... I mean, as far as video conferencing stuff goes, there's really kind of three main ones, right? There's Skype or Google Teams, I guess. It's all kind of the same thing. Zoom, or not Google Teams, Microsoft Teams.
Zoom, and then they buy them, I think, or something.
Yeah, Google Meet. And there's a few other outliers, but those are kind of the main big ones, right? Slack has its own, I don't think it's video, but they've got their own audio conferencing built in. So those are the kind of the main commercial options, right? And then, well, I mean, they all kind of work the same. You connect to people and you talk. There's not, as far as video conferencing goes, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to talk about there, nor how it really is applicable to VO. Other than if you want somebody to be able to see you while you're performing and doing a directed session, then yeah, something like Zoom or Skype would make sense. And that's kind of nice because you can have a little bit more personal conversation with somebody if you can see them, rather than just talking to them, right?
But he's relating that to platforms. Isn't there some restrictions there, though?
So there is. There's an interesting little loophole. So Fiverr specifically says you cannot talk off-site, period. That's their stance. The loophole to that is that you can, in fact, talk on Zoom or whatever if it's part of your order. So if it's, necessary to completion, or, you can, whatever, you can have a gig extra on Fiverr that's a consult session or a directed session, or it depends on what you're doing, right? So if you're doing video for somebody, if you're creating like a whiteboard video or an explainer video or something, you need to understand what they need. And a consultation session is pretty standard for something like that. So connecting to them for an hour and talking through everything you're going to build for them makes a lot of sense. So having an extra that people can say, yeah, I'll pay $10 to connect and, make sure we're on the same page, makes sense. In the VO sense, a directed session's kind of the same thing. So rather than doing your read and sending it over and having them go, nah, I don't like that, the pacing's all wrong, or the sound is wrong, or whatever, you could say, okay, here's an extra, pay me an extra $25 or $50 or whatever it is, and we'll connect, and you can listen in as I do the recording live and give me feedback live, and we'll save a whole bunch of time. And if you've never done one, let me tell you, there's no better way to get exactly what the client's looking for without them on the line telling you exactly what they're looking for. And they may not even know. Like these could go totally sideways. They could say, no, try it this way, try it that way, try it this way, and then take the first take, which is completely different than every change they ask for. But whatever, it's still a good experience. So Zoom is good for that. In fact, I believe that at the higher levels and for business customers, Fiverr has a little call thing built in now.
They do.
I believe it leverages Zoom.
Yeah.
I believe it leverages Zoom. Skype would work, Zoom would work, whatever. So the way that would work is you have an extra on your gig, they buy that, and then just as part of the requirements or in the chat after the order has started, you say, okay, I see that you booked a consultation session or a directed session. Let's figure out the schedule. When are we going to do this? And so I have this on my gig, and I have an extra 3 days when they pick it.
Right.
It extends the order time by 3 days to allow for scheduling.
Yes. Good idea.
And so you figure out when you're going to do it and set up a call and connect on Zoom. And, they listen in and they give you their feedback, and that's it. And, frankly, if all they need to hear is what you're doing live, then the Zoom settings can just be set to your interface so that what you say goes down the line from your mic and what they say comes into your headphones. That it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. If they want to be able to hear playback, so like, oh, I think that was good, but can I hear it? Well, then you'll need to get something set up that's called a loopback. And it differs a little bit depending on if you're on a Mac or Windows, but basically there's software that you install. Windows has several different options for free. Voicemeeter is kind of the main go-to. It's
most popular.
It's shareware or donationware, I guess. So you can use it for free forever, but if you're getting money off of using it or you really like it, kick them back a few bucks. And I believe that one's whatever you feel like paying. On the Mac side, there is a free one called Black Hole, but it's not the most intuitive thing to set up. There used to be Soundflower, but it doesn't work anymore. Black Hole has replaced it now that everything's 64-bit. The big commercial one on the Mac is called Loopback by Rogue Amoeba. And then there's also Dante Via, Dante Via. Dante's the company, Via's the software. That's available for Mac and Windows, and that's really cool. It's actually it's technology that's built into a lot of professional mixing boards, and you can send tracks over the network. And so this is really cool. What they've done is, it used to be like if you were in a live sound situation, you'd have a big snake of all the XLR cables and instrument cables and stuff coming from the stage all the way back to the mixing board. That could be several hundred feet away. And, that's a lot of cable to haul around, and they're very expensive. And if one goes bad, man, you're going to have a bad day. The roadie is anyway. But with this thing, you can do it all over a single Ethernet line. So everybody plugs in and it converts it to digital, to packets over, the network. and that all transfers back to the mixing board, which then understands that and turns it back into analog and lets you mix it and whatever. And I believe it also gives you the ability to do very specifically customized mixes for everybody on stage too. So it's really cool. Anyway, it can be used the same way for loopback locally too. You don't have to send it out on the network. You can send it locally and then pull it back in on a track and play it back. So it's kind of complicated to set up. I'm not going to try and talk through it. But those are the tools that you would need. One of those tools is what you would need to be able to send output from your DAW down the line through Zoom or Skype or whatever that's already been recorded if you're not speaking it live.
Mm-hmm. I know I've watched a really simple YouTube video on Voicemeeter for Windows, and there were a lot on there that were very complicated. And there was one that was only about 2.5 minutes, how to download it, set it up, and make it work. And I'll try to remember and dig that up and put the link into the bottom of the podcast page, because it was the most relevant one I found that would work for me, because I'm not totally stupid on a lot of this stuff, but it takes me a while to get it, and the simpler the better sometimes. But the only reason I want to have it is to just in case something like that came up. Hey, could you play that back? Because you cannot do that if you're on Zoom. The last Directed I had, they just wanted me to put all the takes in there. And then they were going to they say, oh, I like that one. Oh, well, I like that one too. And then they decide what they wanted later. And that's a nice option, because you're not backing up and redoing it and trying to make the project right there and then. You're just putting in all these alternates, and then they may choose what they want. Now, I don't know how that would work on a platform, if somebody would, but on your more pro level stuff, they will.
Yeah, and it could be useful in that case to hear their feedback too. So if you were able to pipe what they're saying into your DAW and record it on a separate track at the same time, so then, you hear yourself, you hear what they're saying on another track, you can deliver that whole thing to them. That would be super helpful for them, I'm sure. There is another option, a hardware option. So basically, if you have a mixer, it could be a very cheap, small, whatever, not a USB mixer, because you're not feeding USB in or out, but just an analog mixer. You take an output from your interface into the mixer, output from the mixer into another input on your interface. Then that gives you the loopback. That is exactly what the software is doing. You're just doing it with a hardware solution.
Man, you got me sitting here scratching my head going, I got this little 4-channel Behringer out in the garage.
There you go. That would totally work for you, and you wouldn't have to try and figure out the software.
Yeah, see, look, even I get help on the podcast, by golly. This is great. Oh, this is great.
Now, in terms of other software, shifting gears a little bit to directed session stuff, there's a handful of different ways that you can do a directed session. They really kind of split into two camps. Either A, you're recording on your side, and they're just dialing in and hearing it, over the phone or something, but not a high quality connection. Even though Zoom is usually relatively high quality, it's not studio quality, right? So with Zoom or Skype, or simplest thing is to call them on your phone, put it on speaker, and set it down on the table next to your mic. They can hear everything you're saying. You can hear them, and you just got to make sure they shut up or mute themselves when you record. That's it.
Yeah, definitely, because you will get headphone bleed.
Yeah,
major.
And if you're doing that,
happen.
You should make sure you do this anyway, but if you're doing that, definitely make sure you have high quality mic cables, because you will otherwise pick up the stupid little for all the little data packets from your phone. The other side is where you've got a high quality connection to a studio, and they're going to record on their side. And in the old days, and still a little bit sometimes, but not nearly as much, that would be ISDN, which is a physical connection, a physical type of phone line, basically, that comes into your house or office or hotel room when you're traveling. Which apparently that was just a nightmare to get set up for people traveling. But it's a physical thing that comes in, connects to a physical box that you connect to your mixer or your interface or whatever, that sends high quality down. It's over an old school, twisted pair copper phone line, but it's a digital signal that's roughly the equivalent of like an MP3 in terms of bitrate and stuff. Now these days, most people aren't doing that with hardware, but they are still making use of the same technology. And what they use is software called IPDTL or IPDITL. It's the same protocol, but it's over the internet instead of a phone line. Then the other kind of major players are CleanFeed and Source Connect. Source Connect has a free version called Source Connect Now. I don't know if it'll remain free forever, but it's free presently. It has some limitations. And then the regular Source Connect is like $600 one time, and you have it forever. You can also pay monthly, but if I were going to get it, I don't have it currently because I don't have a need, but as soon as I have a client that needs it, I'm buying it. And I'll just pay the $600 and be done with it. Those are kind of the main things, right? So I can speak a little bit to Source Connect because I've looked into it enough to understand it. Basically, it's the same kind of idea as like a Skype or something. You connect to somebody by their username and it creates a connection, but it is audio only and it is very high quality audio. And same idea. Everything you say goes down the line to them. Everything they say comes back down the line to you. You just go through your interface. You hear it. You don't have to do anything on your side. You should probably still record for backup, but you don't have to. And it's going to be the same for the IPDITLs and the Source Connects and the CleanFeeds and anything like that.
Now, I've heard other people say you cannot do this wireless. You need to be hardwired. Is that true?
I don't know if it's necessarily true that you have to be hardwired, but you absolutely should be hardwired. Wi-Fi is great. It's convenient, but it's not reliable. Even when it is reliable, it's not mission critical reliable.
Yeah, I don't want to be embarrassed in a direct session. And I think you could set yourself up for that if you're not hardwired.
Mm-hmm. You could. And more than just embarrassment, like you could completely wreck a take and not be able to reproduce it, because sometimes they're sort of ephemeral, right? Like you get that perfect read that one time that you could try over and over and never get it quite the same again, which is also a good reason to record a backup on your side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Smart move.
On the other side of things, the cheaper options, most people would probably do like a phone patch or something, right? So they're going to call in, and usually the phone would be hooked up to your board, and you'd hear them in your headphones or whatever. Well, that's equipment we don't have and we don't need. Put them on speakerphone on your cell phone. Put your cell phone down. Take your mic off or your headphones off of one ear so you can hear them, and tell them to mute when you're going to record. You'll get the job done. The other thing you could do is Zoom or Skype. Skype, you can make phone calls.
Yeah, you can call Zoom and Skype works great. I mean, like you said at the front end, you can hear good.
Yeah, you could use Google Voice or Google Talk, and you can dial out or they could dial in. And those being, in your browser or their own app on the computer, they're going to use your audio interface. They're going to use your mic, so they'll hear it. You'll sound awesome.
Oh,
the best you could possibly sound over a phone. Not good enough to record on their end, but you'll sound great, and they'll sound like they're on the phone. And that'll come right in your headphones. Nothing major you need to do. So that's, and that's also the way that should I ever get a IVR gig or a answering machine gig or something that they want me to dial in and record it, I'm going to produce it and edit and record and everything like I normally would. And then I'm going to call in over Google Voice or Skype or something and play it.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So
totally.
It'll be perfect. I just have to play it and it'll be done.
Yeah, I wonder about those a lot. How I know there's some different files and things, which is a whole nother podcast, or some oddball files people have to have for some of that. I hear some nightmares. Yeah,
8-bit and
yep, I hear some nightmares. So here we're getting the options of whether you're going either way, whether you're doing, they're recording on their end or you're recording on your end, and yeah, that last bottom thing is you got a cell phone. Worst case, you can do that. I mean, that will work. The only issues I have ever run into so far on a directed session, and they're not major issues. If you I record the entire session, which it makes some extra editing. That's okay. I don't worry about it. It doesn't bother me. But I mentioned earlier the bleed through. Really watch right on the tail and the beginning of your takes that guy is not totally muted or something, and it can bleed through your headphones. I caught one thing luckily right before I sent a file the other day, and I heard like just a little noise. It almost sounded like a little dog barking, and I was able to back it out. But that'll happen from time to time. But and another thing, don't be afraid of these. Your first one, when you got your
People
first
have a lot
one coming,
of anxiety.
yeah, don't be afraid. It's really fun. I mean, not only is it fun, it's so much better than having to haggle with somebody over stuff, because this will get them what they want, and you'll understand what they want. They will tell you. I mean, even down to when you read a line, they may say, "Hey, don't drop it off on the end. Raise it up." Okay. Well, then when you do that, it's perfect because it's just what they wanted.
Right. Or do it a little
so
bit faster, or could you put a little
Yeah.
more emphasis on whatever word? Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's like, for anybody who's acted, it's like comparing, in a way, acting on stage versus acting for film. Not in terms of how you act, because on stage it's much larger and acting, and film is very small and doesn't look like you're doing anything. In fact, there's a great video on YouTube. It's Michael Caine talking about acting. And it's a demo. It's like an hour long. It's fantastic. He's talking about the acting process on film. And anyway, it's worth a watch. But the difference there is when you're acting for film, the people who are there shooting it see you do it, and they've seen it, 30 times on this 2 lines because you've done 30 takes already. They don't care anymore. They're just pointing the camera and aiming the lights and stuff, right? There's no emotion left in the room for them. That's not entirely true, but you get what I'm saying. And then, eventually when it's done and it's edited and the music is in and everything, it's all packaged up and it's actually an emotional scene. You're not sitting there with the guy sitting at home watching it on Netflix. So you don't see their reaction. But acting on stage, you get their reaction right away. If that joke landed, or if, what you said was heartfelt enough and people go, "Oh," or whatever. And directed sessions are kind of the same way. You get that immediate feedback of, "Wow, that was so much better than I thought it was going to be. That was perfect." Or, that was, let's do that
It'll
again.
boost your confidence a little too. You'll really be glad you do these, because and the thing is, and we say this in a lot of the podcasts, fake it till you make it, because you go in there thinking you're you sell them. You're a professional. You know what you're doing. They've already picked you. It's not like you're trying to win the job. You got the job, and now you're polishing the job. And go in there and own it and be confident, but listen to what they're telling you and follow direction. I think that's one of the biggest things. If you're able to quickly follow direction, you'll turn an hour session into 30 minutes. It won't take long. Everybody's happy. Oh, we got it done faster than we thought, and it's just what we wanted. Thank you so much.
And then you turn around and deliver it fast because you recorded and you're already good at editing, and you're
Yes.
way better than a lot of these other people at it, and you don't have people you have to send it off to, and you just ship it off and you get it within an hour, and they are over the moon.
Yes.
Because the other guys they've done this with before took an hour to get it right in the recording and then took 3 days to get it back to them.
Absolutely. Yep. So hopefully this explained all of this a little better to all of us down here hanging around the bottom of the ladder, because we are, You know, a lot of this is new, and I'm still very green on Source Connect and IPDTL. I know I'm like Will. I know the day's coming. I'm going to have to do it. I need to get prepared to be hardwired. I'm not hardwired yet. But the great thing is my internet service where it comes into the house or my broadband is actually on the wall right behind where I sit in my booth. So it should be very easy to poke a hole in the wall and bring a wire in. I mean, I shouldn't have a lot of trouble with that. So, but hey, again, I say this almost every week. I'm learning too. I learn a lot from our own podcast. Isn't that crazy? I'm not teaching myself anything. I just like listening to Will.
But you know, what's interesting to me is there are certainly episodes where you're doing most of the talking, and then and I feel like I'm just kind of going, yep, oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, Troy. You know,
Yeah,
and then
right.
there's episodes like this where my throat's getting kind of dry because I've talked the whole time.
Well, and it's one of those
Hopefully
things.
it's good info.
This was, you know, this stuff's in your wheelhouse, way more than mine, and it's great for me to learn and everybody to learn, and I hope everybody out there appreciates it. So you guys that are clicking every Monday and grabbing the new episodes, and hopefully this is one that not only helped Tony but helped some other people. And you know, these two things may not come up for you for a little while, but hey, now you know. And like we said, don't be afraid. This is really some of the fun part of the business. You get to interact with some other people, and you know, we sit in a booth by ourselves all day and we talk to ourselves, and now we can talk to somebody else.
Right. Well, and here's the other key of that is it helps to reinforce in your head, I think, that you're not working for them. I mean, you are, but you're working with them. And the distinction between the two is very specific and very important, because if you start looking at all the jobs that you're doing as a collaboration rather than some drudgery that you have to get done, the quality of the work that you do is going to go up. The way you feel about it is going to go up. And, you know, if you're more optimistic about how you're working, you feel better about the jobs you're doing, you're going to get more repeat business, you're going to get more business in general, because it's, you know, the laws of attraction of the universe and whatever. And at the end of the day, it's a collaboration, right? It's like we say, it's not a monologue, it's a conversation. It's not a job, it's a collaboration.
Very good. I like it. So I guess next episode I need to prepare to talk. I didn't say much. That's okay, though. I'm going to tell you, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. This is good information. I hope it helps somebody out there. Hey, we're going to get out of here. We try not to take up too much of your time every week, but we want to give you as much info as we can. We don't want to cut short just because the clock says 20 minutes or 22 minutes. So hopefully this was worth hanging in there for. And we'll be back, as we always are, every Monday. We'd love to say live and alive and all that stuff, but we're not. We're pre-recorded, as everybody knows. But we're enjoying doing these for you guys out there. And give us some feedback. Give us comments. We'd love to hear from you. If there's something you need us to dig into, let us know. Shoot us a note on the Facebook page. Don't forget to join us on Ladder Chatter on Thursday nights. Group is really growing, and we're really humbled by that. So join us.
Yeah, we're up
we'd like to have you.
48% or something in the past month, and engagement is off the charts. You know,
awesome.
400% growth in comment or in posts, and 500 something in comments, and the number of people that are joining us every Thursday is growing, and pretty consistently around 10 right now, and it's fantastic. When we started in December, it was 2 of us or 3 of us.
Yeah, the first meet, I think you and I showed up. And the second meet, one other or 2 others showed up. But yeah, it's really growing, and you know, it's fun, and we'll keep doing it as long as it's fun and as long as you guys want us to do it. We're not doing this for ourselves, that's for sure. We're doing it because we're trying to reach out and help and share what little we know. All right, I guess I'm gonna go find the biggest quilt I can find and crawl under it. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Will, have a good one, man. I'll see you next week. All right?
Sounds good.
See you later, folks.
The VoiceOver Ladder is available on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss an episode, because we may drop one at any moment. Do we know what we're doing? Not really. But we are learning and making progress, one rung at a time, as we all climb the VO ladder.